Finally, we got the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer, and it looks awesome. I think we're finally gonna get the Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man has gone through quite the ride in theaters. I mean, you had the original trilogy with Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire, and those weren't bad, but I never thought of those as like the definitive Spider-Man movies. You know, Tobey Maguire to me was a pretty good actor, but he never felt like Peter Parker to me. I always felt he was a little too dramatic with his emotions, and Spider-Man's humor was just extremely toned down. Everyone that knows Spider-Man knows he's that character that's constantly swinging around while fighting his villains and constantly running his mouth, to the point where they're just annoyed beyond belief. You didn't see that at all in the original Spider-Man trilogies. I think they could have done better. Then we had the Amazing Spider-Man movies with Andrew Garfield, which were kind of like a mix of old and new. You know, they brought him back to high school to his youth. It was a little more modern. While I thought 1 and 2 were actually pretty good, I never understood the hate that the second movie got. I enjoyed it. My whole thing with those movies is when you read these comic books, you know, you want to see these characters interacting with each other. At this point in time when Amazing Spider-Man came out, we already had the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We already were spoiled with all these characters like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. They were all interacting with each other, but Spider-Man was still in his own world. You know, every fan wants to see all these characters fighting together. So while I thought those movies were a little bit of a step in the right direction, I still wanted Spidey in the MCU, like everyone did. And it happened. You know, Civil War came out, Spider-Man made his introduction, and they nailed the hell out of the character. I'm a huge fan of the 90s Spider-Man comics. Actually, the early 90s, I felt Marvel was at its greatest in the comic book world. You know, here's a couple of my issues right here. I still collect these early 90s, you know, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee's. I'm working on building this collection. I had a ton of these when I was a kid, didn't take care of them, don't have them anymore. So I have been going through and collecting these, but this is my Spider-Man. That's the Spider-Man I grew up with. The comics were a little darker, more mature, and that's not the direction this movie is going with. And I'm perfectly fine with that, because it's clearly inspired by the Ultimate Spider-Man comic books. If you haven't read those, it was a reboot of the entire Spider-Man line. He's in high school, he's a kid again, deals with teenager problems, so that's really what Spider-Man Homecoming is focused on. You know, in the trailer, we get a lot of shots of him in high school, dreaming about girls and, you know, things that regular teenage kids do. But one thing I found interesting, it doesn't look like Mary Jane's in this movie. It looks like his love interest is Liz Allen.
Peter, what is going on with you?
I'm really sorry. I'm so busy. I'm slammed.
So that's kind of an interesting way to start. I'm wondering if we're ever going to get Gwen Stacy again, or if Mary Jane is going to come later. Because everyone knows at the end of the day, he ends up with Mary Jane, and should. But you got to start somewhere. In fact, if you go back to the original comics, he didn't even know Mary Jane until like college. And you can see that the humor is going to be, I mean, it's Spider-Man humor.
What's up, guys? Wait a minute. You guys aren't the real Avengers. I can tell Hulk gives it away. Oh, that was awesome.
And this is taken right out of the comic books. I was dying laughing during this part of the trailer because it really shows that they knew what they were doing. They did their research, and they're pulling stuff directly from the comics. And I always try to go in looking at these movies from a moviegoer point of view, but at the same time, I can't let that comic book fan point of view, you know, take a back seat. So I appreciate when they pull these panels right off the page and stick them on the screen. And from what I gather by watching this trailer, clearly the Vulture is the main villain, and I guess, but it looks like he has some kind of alien laser gun of some sort too that he's gonna cause damage with. I always say that the two best rogues gallery in all of comic books is Batman and Spider-Man. Those two characters have the best set of villains out of all comic book history. Let me talk about the Vulture. I hate that character. I've never liked the Vulture as a character. When I heard he was going to be the main villain, I was like, oh god. It's going to be some old guy in a suit just flying around. What could he possibly do? But they made this guy scary in the trailer. I think the Vulture may actually be a threat. He's got some kind of alien gun, laser of some sort. He's got this badass looking flight suit, and I love the little frills around his neck that look like kind of like feathers. He's got some crazy looking helmet with these green glowing eyes, and it's got almost like a beak design on the front. This is a perfect example of how you take a character that looks stupid as hell in the comics and bring him to the big screen and make him look awesome and threatening. I think Michael Keaton is going to nail this role. I mean, he tells Peter, "Don't mess with me, kid, or I'll kill you and your entire family," basically.
Don't mess with me, because I will kill you and everybody you love.
Like, Vulture's not playing around. Another character that I really like is Shocker, which, actually, you know what? I got a little statue of him right there. Look, I'll show you. There's the Shocker right there in all his glory. Yeah, but I really like this character. I always have, and I know he's in the movie because they've already released photos of him. So I am a little disappointed that we didn't get a glimpse of him in the trailer. I'm hoping the next trailer we get, we do see a little bit of Shocker action there too. So I mean, the trailer really doesn't give away too much of the movie. It doesn't show a whole lot, but it gave us enough to know what kind of feel this movie was going to have. I've also heard some complaints about Tony Stark being in it. People don't want it to turn into an Avengers movie. But from what it looks like he's more of a consultant or someone that's just helping Peter, learn how to be a superhero.
Forget the flying monster guy. There are people who handle this sort of thing.
I'm sick of him treating me like a kid all the time.
But you are a kid.
There's a little gray area in there, and that's where you operate.
Again, going back to the comic books, that's kind of what Nick Fury's role was in the Ultimate Spider-Man one. So they just kind of inserted Tony Stark in the role, which is great because their chemistry is amazing. Whenever Peter went, oh my God, whenever Peter went to give him a hug, I lost it. I lost it laughing.
All right.
That's not a hug. I'm just grabbing the door for you. All right, kid. Good luck out there.
And that's that kind of natural comedy that Robert Downey Jr. brings to the role of Tony Stark. So him being in the movie is good. Oh, and that shot at the end of him and Spider-Man together, woo! I'm going to be cheering in the theater like a little schoolgirl. Also, at the end of the trailer, we see a shot of Spider-Man holding a cruise ship together. It looks like a Vulture's purple laser thing blasted it in half, and he's just holding it together with his webs, which clearly it's inspired by the scene in Spider-Man 2 when he's holding back the train, which shows how powerful Spider-Man really is. People forget that he just doesn't swing around and shoot webs. He is super strong. Like, he's amazingly strong. He's constantly holding back. There's even a comic book where Doc Ock took over Spider-Man's body and he punches Scorpion in the face, completely breaking his jaw and separating it. And at that point, Doc Ock realizes this man has been fighting me for years and he could have done this to me at any moment, and he's constantly holding back. So I love that they're acknowledging the scene from Spider-Man 2. It's kind of like paying homage to what came before, but one-upping it at the same time. So overall, the trailer was outstanding. I have a peeve with Hollywood that every time they come out with trailers, they ruin entire movies. They show way too much. But this, I don't feel like it really spoiled anything. It gave us a look at a badass version of Vulture. It gave us a feel of what to expect from the movie, what kind of humor we're going to be seeing. It just looks like it's going to be a really good time. And what is it setting up for the future? Clearly, they're setting up Sinister Six somehow. You're going to have the Vulture, we have the Shocker, so I'm sure they're going to bring these villains together at a future point. Assuming they don't kill them off in the same movie. That's another thing, Marvel. Stop killing your villains. Put them in jail, take away their powers, put them in the hospital so you can reuse them later if you need to. Stop. And clearly Iron Man is setting him up to be an Avenger too, which obviously if you're in this universe full of aliens, mutants, robots, and all kinds of things that are trying to kill people every other day, and you've got a kid with superpowers that you've already involved in Civil War, it's natural progression that eventually he's going to join the ranks of the Avengers.
So to become an Avenger, are there like trials or an interview?
Just don't do anything I would do. And definitely don't do anything I wouldn't do.
There's a lot to look forward to. This is an amazing, no pun intended, amazing time to be a nerd. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this trailer review. If you like this video and love this channel, please leave me a like down below. And if you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and check out my other videos. You will find something you enjoy. Anyways, guys, I'm out of here. I love all of you, and I'll see you next time.